Okay, well, hello and welcome to this virtual panel discussion hosted by Kinship. I'm Stephanie Vanderlecht, and I'm joined here with Delilah and Dravia Hendricks, and I'll have them each introduce themselves in a moment more fully, but let me just begin by orienting and framing our conversation today. So we're here as part of a week started by the Christian Community Development Association called Locked in Solidarity. And this is a national awareness and action week. It's focused on ending mass incarceration and uplifting the expressions of Christians across the country who are creating space to listen to the stories of people who are directly impacted and who are learning about the greater impact on our communities of mass incarceration, to pray and to engage public sector officials who have the power to actually enact some change. So that's kind of the bigger picture of what we're doing here. So let me just introduce myself. I'm Stephanie Vanderlecht. I represent Kinship. We are an emerging nonprofit organization. We're rooted in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we have a growing worldwide network. And we're a community of learning and practice. And we are seeking to bring kinship to life through study, art, contemplation, land care, and life together. So we are a community interested in the practice of kinship, which is this relationality, mutuality, okay, connectivity. So we attend to the forces that keep us enclosed and away from each other, isolated and estranged, so that we can become more connected and more in relationship. So we're people of Christian faith, and that motivates our exploration and practice because we believe that God is relationship. And one of the main actions of God is to reconcile all things together through Christ. We are followers of Jesus of Nazareth, who himself was incarcerated. And so we are compelled by the words and actions of our Savior. So we are motivated to attend to the reality and impact of mass incarceration in our country, in our state, how it impacts our local communities, families, neighbors, friends. And personally, this has been a space of my own engagement for many years, vocationally as a minister, instructor, case manager. And that's how I'm privileged to be in connection with you all here on this panel as well. It's through friendship, through co-laboring. So I want to take a moment and let you introduce yourselves however you'd like to, and just say a word about why this conversation is important to you. So just say who you are, however you want to, and why this is meaningful to you. Dravia, would you like to go first?
So my name again is Dravia Hendricks. I would say for me, this conversation is important because support. I mean, you need the support, solidarity, coming out of prison, especially as long as I have been incarcerated 30 years or more. Just knowing that you have people that share the same interests as you as far as starting over, changing your life, helping you to do the right thing so that you won't get caught back up in the system. It's hard out here. It's challenging. And I just think it's important to have a group of people that, share the same mindset, changing the recidivism rate. That's important. This is a very good conversation. I'm grateful that you invited me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, Delilah?
So my name is Delilah Michelle, and I work at the Center for Community Transitions. I'm the program director there. I am so humbled and grateful to be a part of this conversation because it's important to educate the community about mass incarceration and the struggles that these individuals have coming out of prison. And at the center, we help those individuals transition out in the best way that we could with all those barriers that they face. It's a challenge for us as well when dealing with the community and trying to have these individuals, transition out in a healthy way. So we kind of like do prison different. we're like reimagining prison in a holistic way, in a way of stability, and in a way of routine, and an environment that they can actually thrive in order to be ready and strong for that transition out. So I'm so excited to be talking about this, and I hope that more people just want to get engaged with this conversation.
Yeah, it's so good. And thank you for everything you all do at the Center for Community Transitions, because it is an incredible, incredible gift, and even just a little bit of a glimpse of what we're even talking about what's possible here. So let me just name a few stats here, because we acknowledge that our country, the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave, is the world's leader in incarceration.
Yeah.
And so you maybe have heard that statistic. We have 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's prisoners. So there's plenty to talk about in terms of how we got here, why we incarcerate so many people, about our punitive system, right? But what I want to talk about specifically today is that mass incarceration means mass reentry, right? Because 95% of the people who are locked up in our prisons, jails, and detention centers are going to come back to their communities. And so, what's of importance here is that discussion that we continue to punish and stigmatize and create barriers for people who are returning to their communities. And this creates enormous difficulties, right? Your punishment doesn't always just end right when you get out of prison. We kind of keep doing that. We keep punishing. And so that's what I think is really important that I want to talk about, and how we can move to imagine other ways of being, thinking, acting as neighbors, communities of faith, people who have influence. So that's that backdrop I want to talk about reentry. So here's my first question. What would you say are the main barriers and difficulties that folks face who are reentering community from prison? And think immediate, maybe first weeks, those first few weeks, think midterm, first year, and think long-term, like 2 to 5 years or plus. And think holistically, because we're whole beings, right? So are they material, practical, internal, emotional, spiritual, communal? So that's my question. What would you say? Some of the main barriers?
Definitely finances. I was fortunate enough to have saved up enough money during the work release program to be able to come out. But if you are not financially, you don't have any finances, it's really hard. Because you come out and you may not have no credit. I had no credit. And so people weren't willing to deal with me off the gate. Let's see, you deal with family members who think that you are who you were before you come to prison, or they have expectations of you. And that's a challenge, being who you are, who you've evolved into. I like when you said stigmatized, because I like to be judged on my own merit. I didn't like being put in a mold, like, so ex-con, ex-prisoners, they expect you to be a certain way. They expect you to mess up and go right back to prison in your first 90 days. That's statistically, that's what they think. I just want to be judged by my own character, my own merit, and not be put in a box. And I know that's hard, because the statistics shows that people, they came out of prison or got on parole and they mess up, but not everybody is the same. That's a barrier. I have the support. You said mental and emotional. It's very mentally and emotionally challenging. And if you don't have someone that you can talk to, like I have the Change Choices program, and you have some friends or so that you can follow on your church member. If you don't have anybody out here, I told Joanne Hall, I see why you come to prison that many times. I get it, because you get to a breaking point where you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. But having someone that you can talk to and be supportive and let you know that you're doing good, give yourself some grace and keep pushing through. That helped me to get through. I'm telling you, because it's been rough. Yeah, it's been rough, but perseverance. I think I'm grateful for CCT because it set my mindset. It gave me choices. I was able to start making choices because we don't even get to choose the underwear that you're going to wear. And so when I got there, I was able to choose my own underwear, not just my own underwear, but different colors, different color socks. It's the small things. And so I began to make choices that it caused me to start being responsible. And so those little things matter. And riding the bus. And when you get out here, I'm not so put in a box where I'm just frightened to do anything. It broke some of the chains going to CCT. I'm so grateful for that program and them, helping me to be introduced to the Change Choices program and stuff like that. Those were very big stepping stones for me coming out. And so yeah, that's so far. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to agree with Dravia about, the folks coming out from prison and re-entering the family household, and the family thinks they are the same person that left, so many years ago, and that's hard. I think when we talk about entering prison, like in the first years, mental health, I think that's where the biggest struggle is, because the prison doesn't understand that, and they try to implement ways to assist with the mental health, but it turns into just medicating most folks in prison, and so I think that's one of the barriers that they face entering prison. I also, of course, there's employment and housing when they're transitioning out. Was trying to, it's not a forgiving community. And I think that's what this conversation is, right? Just forgiveness. Like, when we bring faith into it, that's that, Jesus forgave, right? So we want the community to be that way, forgiving, to make it easier for these folks to, live a healthy life, because that's where the cycle begins again, that struggle. And they're going to do what they know best and what's easiest. And it's easier to go back to the same bad habits than it is to learn the new, challenging, hard ones. So why not make it easy for these folks to thrive in the community, right? So, and shedding those layers of prison. Prison is another added trauma. So when these folks go back home to their families, the families don't understand. They have the trauma now of prison, not only of what happened prior to prison. Now there's this added trauma. So.
Yeah, that's all so good, so helpful and insightful. And I think about the words of Brian Stevenson, who talks about who's a lawyer with the Equal Justice Initiative, who talks about what would it be like to be identified as the worst thing you've ever done. Like most of us, that's unthinkable to us, and that we then put people in these static spaces. Nobody wants to be treated that way. And, we can't treat each other that way and actually be in relationship with each other. We are all growing and expanding and evolving and becoming. And so I love how you talked about that, because if we can put ourselves in the shoes of someone who's, like you said, stigmatized, placed in this static place, none of us as human beings can actually thrive in that kind of situation. So yes, forgiveness and so good. So solidarity is this word that we've said a few times. I'd love to hear each of you talk about, what does that word mean to you? When I say solidarity, what does that feel like? What does it mean? What could it mean for a society that is welcoming and forgiving and receptive to people who are coming back from prison?
For me, it feels like unity. It means support, and it means people that have the same goals and the same interests. And like even since I've been out, like Miss Delilah, I hear your voice saying all the things that you're saying, like you can do it, you're gonna make it, and when I felt like a breaking point, I hear those voices, and so it made me drive. It pushed me, gave me the drive to keep going, the perseverance to me, that's unity. Remembering what people spoke in my spirit before I came out. And then since I've been out, being able to connect with people that, you know, that wish me well, that want the best for me and want me to make it, you know?
Yeah, so when I think of the word solidarity, makes me think of people coming together to be one with change, one with support and solutions. And yeah, it's just, it's strength. Solidarity is strength, strength in numbers. So.
Yeah.
That's so good. Someone once gave this definition to me of solidarity. They said, take us with you wherever you go, which I thought was beautiful. As we think about, you know, if we're speaking to folks in our community, communities of faith, or people with influence, even elected officials, what does it mean to take people who are returning from prison, take them with you wherever you go? If you're an employer, if you have, if you rent property, or you're a landlord, what does it mean to take them with you and take that with you into your spheres of influence, which I love that too. But I love these definitions of unity and strength. So what would you like to say to communities of faith, to churches and Christians in the Charlotte community about I can see you've got something, Dravia.
I'll just say, don't talk about it, be about it. I mean, and I mean, like, live seriously. Coming before you get out, you know, you hear the promises, you think it's going to be a certain way. When you get out, somebody dropped the ball. I mean, I don't know. They're not as supportive as I expected. I do get it. It's COVID and you're not able to meet, you're not able to come together, but just be about it. Say what you mean what you say. And because really, we, as an inmate or ex-convict, we have expectations too of people who said that they were faith-based or that they have resources and stuff. We expect you to be who you say that you are. I'm just not gonna lie, the church community that was supposed to be supporting me has not done one thing, and I haven't asked for anything material, but they haven't been able to come through it. And like I said, it is a COVID season, and I get it, but just be about it. Please don't talk about it, because that's what they expect. They expect us to just talk about it and come out and be a no-show. They have expectations of us too, to do what we say we're gonna do, and we have the same expectations. And everything, God is foremost, He is first, He is everything, but everything, you can't take me into prayer. Let's pray about it, girl. No, some things you gotta lead me to resources, like you say about the mental health issues. Some things you gotta give people resources to go to, especially if they're at a breaking point. You can't just pull me together, go on a phone call or Zoom and say, well, let's pray right now about it. That's not gonna make it go away, you know? But to be able to have resources that people can reach out to get some help and know where to go. Yeah, I heard a lot of that since I've been out. Just pray about it. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that, Dravia. Yeah. Action, right? That's what we need from the faith community is action. Get educated. On the topic of incarceration, get involved in any way you can, and not just like Dravia said, let's just pray that everything will work out. You know, we need actual involvement. These people need resources and support. Hope is another thing, right? That's what God gives us, is hope, and God speaks through individuals and people. And so that's what the faith community should be doing, is pouring hope out into people that are suffering from incarceration. So
like Stephanie, when I got out of prison and I knew nothing about that computer, you came all the way over my house. We went out to lunch, set up the computer for me and helped me to. You didn't do the work, but you showed me how to get it set up, and then we did my resume. You remember that?
That was a good day, mostly because I was so
It
excited
was
to
a wonderful
see you.
day.
But we
It
got
was
some
a
things
great
done
day.
too.
It was a great day. It was a learning process. So I learned how to do a resume, like really, really do a professional one, and learn how to do it on my own computer, because you have to set that Chromebook up, and just little things like that. Just faith-based people coming through and helping you do those little things like that, because I couldn't do it on my own. But we got it done just in time, and it got through to the restorative pathway program, and I was able to get in there. But I needed that resume to be polished up, and just taking out some time. Sometimes that's all we need. Just know somebody cares enough, and that was a great day. I'll never forget it. That was my little stepping stone to get me into, help push me into that program. Yeah, that was a deadline on that.
Yeah, that had to happen that day.
Yeah, like ASAP.
Well, I think I hear about you both talk about, how we can misuse prayer as like,
Yeah.
and I had a friend one time who talked about authentically lived prayer, like prayer that has feet, prayer that has hands.
Yeah, that's right.
And, because I think when we separate these things, and they are not to be separated, our actions are our prayers oftentimes. And that, I think that's a big piece of growth and discipleship work that people of faith, Christians, we need to grow in. And so, absolutely. So what would you want to say to your elected officials? And who, if you think of some, like a role in particular, the people who have influence over the rules and regulations, the policies, the box that you have to check, or whatever it is, what would you like to say? What comes to mind?
Pretty much what I said in the beginning, to judge people at their own merit individually, not to lump everybody in a mold and expect us to do bad. And I saw that when I got out, that the first 90 days, most people go back to prison, and I was like, wow, they already stereotype you, and I don't know, to really, really help us with housing. It's hard to get housing when you get out, incarceration. And if you don't have anywhere to go, like Ms. Delilah said, you go back to what you know, and then we wonder why the recidivism rate is so high. Because people they do have a choice, but they don't have a choice. If they don't have a stepping stone, they go back to what they know, and it ain't always good. And that's for male or females. If you don't give us a chance, if you don't give it to them, they're going to go back to what they know. And we're going to keep having mass incarceration. With the employment, being able to have employment, being able to have housing and things like that. Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, I agree, Dravia, and I think as far as one individual, it's everyone. It's everyone in that arena of the political world, because it's a countrywide epidemic, right? So they all need to hear this, and the system speaks for itself. So look at the data. What is the data telling you, right? With recidivism and the lack of programs and the challenges that every state faces with, employment and housing. And I mean, let's look at the whole picture and make some changes. Like, I just can't believe that they're just sitting back and allowing this to happen. And there just needs to be change. And, things like this, that hopefully enough people talking about it will create that change.
Yeah, and sometimes, and I think this is relevant to, faith communities too. Sometimes we have to do some things outside of that political system. We may need to create other housing options, employment options, because, while we wait, while we keep advocating and asking, and I think that that's what really gets me excited, because there are resources and connections within our communities as people of faith, and we could leverage them in that way. So I think that's so good. That's so key. Okay.
Yeah, like everybody, and I think like individuals have their own resources, their own personal resources. And if you have
Yeah.
that and to contribute, then that, you know, even if you're helping one person, you have made a difference, right? So don't think that, okay, well, I just have this one resource and I can't help too many people. That's okay. You know,
Yeah.
it just takes that
Mhm.
one person to bring them up, and then, you know, they're helping someone else because now they're up there, right? And they know individuals that are incarcerated, so they can also, you know, assist through that process.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's so much more to talk about, and I'm so grateful that you all have joined me for this. My last question is, what is giving you hope? Where have you seen movement, and what's helping you take the next step?
Mhm. Well, forums like this, it gives me hope, that people have not forgotten about you, that they people still care about the incarcerated people coming out, and you being a voice and allowing us to be a voice, and yeah, that's what gives you hope. Um and then for the program or the faith-based programs, they have been supportive, because not everyone has shut the door, and that has given me hope. And even people who I've left behind, like the chaplains, and I still talk with them now on Facebook and stuff, and they'll send a word out like, "Hello, how asking how you're doing." That's hopeful. Just people have not given up on you, even if they can't be there physically. They're like you said, they carry you with them, and they reach out to you when they can, and that's really hopeful. Yeah. It gives me hope.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with Dravia, with platforms like this give me hope, and
Yeah.
hopefully to continue more of these talks. And what gives me hope also is with the work that I do, and some of these women, or most of them, they are thriving. You have a few that, have had some hard past, and lots of trauma that makes it a little more difficult to thrive even after, all the help they've gotten from the center. But for the most part, like, I do get phone calls from a lot of the ladies, or text messages or Facebook messages, letting me know how they're doing, or if something, exciting happened in their life, a new job, or even they're a year out, they reach out with excitement. That gives me hope, because I know that I was able to help through that process. And I want others to feel this way, like, get involved. It's such a rewarding feeling when this person is actually thriving and doing well because you made a difference in someone's life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what I want to do is just end with a word of gratitude for each of you. I hope this is the first of many times that we can gather, not only virtually, but maybe in person too, and keep talking, keep standing in solidarity with each other and with others, because we need each other. That's really what this is all about. We need each other. And so let me send you out, and anyone else who happens to be listening, with a blessing and a prayer. This is from one of my favorite liturgy collections, and it's called Keep Your Eyes Wide Open, which I think is another way of saying be in solidarity. So keep your eyes wide open, your hands willing, your hearts generous, your ears attentive, and your senses awake, your feet light, your hope alive, and your faith on fire. Go and shine wherever you may be. Go and embrace with tenderness all of life, with its sorrows and its joys. Go and know what God desires and what your sisters and brothers seek. May the creative force bless you. May the divine solidarity sustain you. And may you be encouraged and enveloped by the tender breath that brings true freedom. So, ladies, take that with you. And I just want to say thank you so much for being part of this. Let's keep it going. Let's talk some more. And God bless you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That was beautiful. Thank you for
Nice
having
seeing
us.
y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.